public service announcements, digitizing healthcare, Apple's AI plans, and 3 billion iPhones. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by Take Control Books, one of the very best sources of clear, concise information on not only Apple's various operating systems, but also key Apple and third-party utilities and more. Visit TakeControlBooks.com and start your library today. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is MacVoices Live. It's Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. We are live on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. We do this every Tuesday night, so if you're seeing this in the feeds, join us the next Tuesday night that's coming up. And if you're here, we're really glad you're here. We have a number of people already in the chat room. We're expecting more. We might even expect 1 or 2 more panel members to show up. We'll see how that works out. But for the people that are here right now, we're just going to go around and let you know who's here, and then we'll get to it. So first up, as usual, top left of my screen, this time sporting a brand new white microphone, Mr. David Ginsburg. David, it's great to see you.
Great to be here. Yep. I just thought I'd just change it up a little bit. I've got the inner Guy Searle in me, so I picked this up with a good deal. So,
okay, I like it. I like it. I like it. On the top right of my screen, sporting an indescribable hairdo, Mr. Eric Bolden. Eric, it's great to have you, but I think you better elaborate on that for the folks who are listening to the audio-only version.
Yeah, you know, it didn't take that long. The stylist was really eager to try something new.
What is that, Eric? I mean, I know that there's a butterfly off to the side, but what is that?
It's an allium flower. An onion relative with a cabbage butterfly.
Onions have relatives?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it edible? I mean, or does it produce anything?
It could be. It's more for looks. Okay. It's got nice blooms earlier nice foliage that comes out really early in the year, and then blooms this time of year, and yeah, it just kind of hangs out.
Okay, great. All right, that wraps up This Week in Botany. Next, we'll go down to Mr. Marty Jencius. Marty, it's great to have you. Glad you made it back.
Yeah, I had a surprise on the way back. That was, I came back from about 5 days in Chicago. And all I can say is that I was surprised at how many cars in front of me had broken turn signals. By then, I mean, they would change from lane to lane, and it was unfortunate that apparently they were attempting to use their turn signals, but nothing happened in terms of the left or the right when they did that. Occasionally, I would pass them, and as a good Samaritan, I would put one finger up to tell them that their turn signal was busted. One of their turn signals were busted. And they seemed a little shocked at the moment, probably because they had never received such a courteous person telling them that they need to get their turn signals fixed.
Courtesy is always a surprise in today's world, Marty.
Yeah.
So we will all try to follow your example. So Webb Bixby is here. Webb, it's great to have you. Will you be God, sorry, I'm all choked up. Will you be courteous to anyone here tonight?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. You had to think about that for a long time. Is this a new quilt, or am I just not remembering this one?
I don't want to call it new, but it's a new one to you. So,
okay.
So I have, I think, 27 of them that are in my little picture database, and I just picked that one because I said, "Hey, we haven't seen that one before." So,
yeah, that's striking. That's striking. Yeah.
I'll be sure to tell Tracy.
Please. Brian Flanigan-Arthurs has joined us from a hot part of the country still, or it's always hot there, Brian, isn't it?
Yeah, for at least a few more months. Yeah.
All right, but then you get a 2-week break, and then it goes back to being odd.
Sure. That's our treat. Yeah.
It's good to have you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Jim Ray has also joined us. There was a false start there. It looked like Jim's camera froze for a minute, but now it's Jim live and in person.
Actually, Zoom quit.
Oh, that's exciting.
So yeah, the camera was fine, but I don't know. I heard a joke once about Buffalo. There's 2 seasons there: winter and July 11th. So maybe Phoenix is summer and January 17th.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Wow. All right. Well, we're going to start off. We've been doing this when the circumstances dictated it, with a couple of public service announcements. You may or may not have heard about this. First off, Dropbox is dropping. Sorry for that. Dropbox is dropping their Dropbox passwords service. Now, we've talked about this on a couple other shows. A lot of people didn't even know they had a password service. And so I bring it up sort of like the Microsoft thing that we had, Authenticator storing passwords story we had a couple weeks ago. Just in case you are using it and have your passwords in there, you want to get them out because it's in very short order going to disappear. And the last thing you want is your passwords disappearing with it. So if you're using Dropbox passwords, check out the article in the show notes, and I've posted it into the chats. And be sure that you get those passwords out and put them in something safe like Apple's passwords or 1Password. Try to avoid the inevitable post-its. The other one that deserves a little PSA is something I got an email on this because I have been I believe it's pronounced Sengled. I've been a customer of theirs for some of their bulbs, smart bulbs, and apparently they had an outage and Amazon took great offense to it. And so the A-Lady's skill has been pulled, and now no one has the same control over their bulbs using the A-Lady. I have tried, at least at the moment, mine is still working with the app. It's the Sengled app itself, but it's not working with the A-Lady. So, this is one that we kind of think about the smart services going out, or we think about the actual hardware manufacturers going out. But I don't remember the last time I saw a service like this pulled. Does anybody?
No, it's a little unusual. It must have really been bad that Amazon just decided to just yank it and be done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had good luck with the Sengled bulbs up to this point, and now I'm going to have to replace them or just put them somewhere that I don't use them as much and control them with the app, as long as that works. And I hope that continues to work because I did not experience the outage, but to be fair, I wasn't really using them that much because I have them in sort of secondary or tertiary locations. So it'll be something to watch. But if you have them and you find that they're not responding to the A-Lady any longer, now you'll know why. And it looks like that this has been stated as it's going to be permanent. It's not like, well, maybe it'll come back. No, they're pretty much said they're done with it. So.
And here I thought they weren't responding because I don't have Amazon A-Lady and I don't have any of these bulbs.
Okay, well, thank you for that troubleshooting tip, Jim. So we have a lot of Apple stuff to talk about tonight. Some of them are just going to be quick hits. Some may justify a little more discussion. I was really, though, happy to see this particular article out there that Apple is involved to back a government plan to digitize healthcare. This is so overdue that I can't stand it. It's just unbelievable to me that we don't have this coming from someone, some kind of way to standardize our medical records, and so that we can have them and our providers can have them. So I really, really hope that this gets gets off the ground and goes somewhere. And it looks like it's got Amazon backing it, Alphabet, Anthropic, and OpenAI are some of the other major participants. So there's hope for it.
Can you say fax machine? Can that finally go away in the medical field?
It would be nice. But it's interesting, Dave, that you say that, because that seems to be their way around a lot of privacy issues. That fax machines, apparently, since they're more like an analog device, they're harder to tap into.
True.
Which is amazing. Web.
It's a great thing, and I'm glad they're doing it. I hate to break it to you, it's not new. We've been using electronic health records in my shop for 5 years, if not a little longer now. More so now than in the past. It's gotten more and more widespread. So what's the headline here is that some tech companies are now getting behind it, but there is a company that was based here in Kansas City called Cerner that was bought by Oracle, and they were all into the electronic health record business. And then we've talked about what's the other one? Epic, I think, is another one that we've talked about here. So I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm saying it's a great thing, and I'm glad to see some of these big tech companies were getting behind it. But the transition to electronic health records, at least in the insurance industry, has been progressing for 10 years. So that's my comment.
So Web, enlighten us a little bit how they're being used, I will say, on the corporate side, because it still seems like if I go to a doctor, or especially if I go to a new doctor, that it would take an act of Congress, if Congress could actually get anything done, for me to get my records sent from one medical entity to another medical entity.
Change your doctor, quite honestly. I've talked in the last almost 2 years now. I've had some pretty significant health issues that I've been dealing with, and I've been amazed at how my medical information is being treated and shared amongst all my physicians, whether they were so-called in network with the hospital that I was going through, or even others, even my dentist for that matter, which, dental plans are normally just a whole nother world. And I'm saying that there's been a lot more, I'm going to say, transparency. Now, there are going to be people that are going to say this is terrible, and why should insurance companies be able to keep track of my health records? I can get into a long discussion about the whole purpose of risk underwriting in the life insurance industry if you want to go through there, if you want to. But yeah, it's like I said, I've had some tremendously successful sharing of my electronic health information amongst my physician group.
Okay. That's good. That's good. The reason I ask, it's sort of heavy on my mind because I just had an urgent care visit that turned out to be nothing serious, but it was still. And they were trying to get access to my regular records through my regular physician, and they couldn't do it. So they gave me a piece of paper and said, "Here, take this to him the next time you go in." Okay. So much for the digital things. Marty?
Yeah, I've got a couple of, I have a completely opposite experience than Webb. And, I've been going through some medical stuff too. And it seems like I'm the good patient. I will go online and fill out all those questions they want me to fill out and put it in the system. And when I show up at the appointment 2 days later, it's like they don't know any of this stuff.
They ask me all over again.
And they give me a clipboard with like very tiny lines. So I have been deliberately writing illegibly in different sections just to muck that system up. It's like my eyesight is not any worse than anybody else's, but come on, how am I supposed to fill this out on a form? If they talk in the article about killing the clipboard, I'm all for that. I am a little paranoid about the current government's involvement in this procedure. And that's me, and that's politically where I am. I wish this was all universal and all available, but I have not had that experience of going from one doctor to another doctor and not having to list off the medications that I'm on at the new doctor, even though it's in my clinical record.
I think Webb may have said the magic words at one point when he was talking to us within my physician group. So, definitely if you're going to different, providers that all work for the same company or are in a group, they will standardize. But as soon as you start crossing, then
no, Jim, and I stay within the group because I won't get the relationships or the insurance reimbursement that I'll get if I go out of the group.
well,
Yeah, that's going off network is what that's called. But
yeah, they can't seem to get that straight electronically.
Well, I'm not talking about insurance network. I'm talking about, like there's, maybe associated with a hospital or something, and
That's
a bunch of different doctors, and they all use the same system.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about too.
Maybe your group doesn't, but there are groups that do. But that doesn't, I think the idea ultimately is it doesn't matter. Everybody's going to use the same thing. I posted an XKCD in the private chat. If you look at it, it's a classic, which I'm, kind of, let's hope it doesn't come to that. But I have a feeling, this may come that way. It's like, beginning is like, there's 14 competing standards for, how this should be done. That's terrible. We need to come up with a universal standard. And then the final panel of the comic is situation. Now there's 15 competing standards. So that's often, let's hope that's not what happens here. But it's a noble goal. But right now I think it's just a press release. So I'm going to get excited, if it's achieved 10 years from now.
Yeah. I mean, I do see some things in my personal experiences. I see some positives. Again, to Webb's point of the group, the medical group, but it's like, okay, there's a little island here. And if the physicians are in that group, or if they're associated with a healthcare organization, then there's often, not always, but often a portal that I can log in and get the information. But it seems like we're still in a situation, at least in my area, where the portals are not talking to each other.
I mean, it's better than it used to be. It used to be if you went to the doctor next door, they wouldn't, or even the same doctor a year apart, they wouldn't know things. And already like my lab results, I have to get my blood tested several times a year. And I didn't even know this. A friend of mine was like, hey, that's in your Apple Health. I'm like, no, it isn't. Well, he was right. I went and looked, and all my lab results for the last 5 years were sitting on my phone. And, pretty amazing.
That's interesting. Pretty nice if they told you. Eric?
Well,
So I'm sitting in the backyard of Epic. So there's lots, all of the hospitals and everything around are all tied into the Epic system, but not necessarily the same one. So you get my chart with each organization, and you can kind of link the organizations together yourself, sort of stitch them so it goes back and forth. But it all comes back through on the Apple Health app, which is nice. And the MyChart app, you can click through the different organizations. I just find it's interesting because you go to the dentist or you go someplace you haven't been before, and instead of having to carry your entire chart with you, you just fire up the app. And when they say, what are your medications? What is the history of whatever it is? It's sitting in the app. You can show them the app, and you're not verbally trying to remember what it was. It's much more accurate. So if the dentist says, hey, what's your list of medications before we give you whatever, then it's right there. And if you go out and get a vaccination or have something else done, you can upload a picture of it, send it into my chart. It hits your doctor. They add it to your chart as, a patient add on to the chart. And that information just sits there. You don't have to carry it around with you for the next doctor visit. It's already in the chart. So there's a lot of positives to that. I'm still a little bit worried about having it too easy to access and abuse, but it is so much easier when the stuff is all there and you hit a doctor and it's not, oh, yeah, that was a different clinic and we haven't transferred the paper files over, so I don't know what your past history was. So just tell me again, the electronically, they can just call it up. Although I did notice if you go to the eye doctor, who's a completely different clinic, they're not big enough to be in the MyChart universe. So their data never makes it through correctly. So I always manually just submit the eye test stuff in through the MyChart portal myself, and then it goes into the chart. Eventually it all catches up.
Actually, my eye doctor, it does makes it over to my doctor. He's kind of indirectly part of the hospital that's near me. It's part of my chart, but he has to go to a different computer to go look it up. So whenever they put the results for that, they do. But my eye doctor, I guess every place is different, obviously.
And you just said it, Dave. That's the thing. Every place is different, and that's hopefully. It sounds like there is hope here because at least some of you are reporting that things are coming together slowly. So maybe we revisit this in a year or so, and it'll be wonderful.
We hope.
Maybe not.
So today I learned that there's a MyChart app, but my provider's been using I've been using the website for several years. Had no idea there was an app.
Yeah, I've been using that MyChart app for years.
Yeah, it works really well.
I'm sure, but again, nobody told me.
Yeah, I have two major hospital systems and I have two different chart apps. So, yeah.
Well, we can continue to hope.
Mm-hmm.
Shifting over to the inevitable first story of the night about AI. Apple is allegedly, according to, I believe this was Mark Gurman, now looking to rival ChatGPT with a new in-house answers team. Okay. Good. It sounds like this is a bit of a reversal from what we've been hearing from Apple up to this point, if this is true, because we've talked about it a lot here about how they seem to have not looked hard at the chat apps, but more at integrating AI into your activities. So if this comes to pass, this is interesting. There was, since the last time we got together, there was an earnings call in which Tim Cook said that, and I'll paraphrase here, but basically that they're open to improving or continuing to develop their AI efforts in pretty much any way by acquisition, which, all of a sudden, all the Perplexity rumors started rolling again. So, this will be interesting to see if they actually proceed down this road. Did anybody else see this or take away anything else from it? What?
I saw another thing just today. Okay, that they were doing something in an AI world with the Apple Support app. I've done told you all I know. I didn't get a chance to read the article. I didn't get a chance to do a deep dive on it, but this came out today too. So, as far as coming out with the answers team and all that, I've said on this show before that I thought that Apple's implementation of whatever you want to call Apple Intelligence has been a train wreck. They'll fix it. I'm thoroughly convinced they'll fix it. But up to now, it's been a nothing burger, quite honestly, in my opinion.
Right. And again, as I always point out, it seems that it kind of depends on what you do with what part of Apple Intelligence.
Very much agreed.
Yeah. Marty?
Yeah, the thing that caught my eye about this article is, why is ChatGPT Apple's rival? I mean, they've been in a relationship with ChatGPT pretty long, that you have this option to move out and have your question answered. If it isn't answered by the S lady, it can go to ChatGPT. This seems like a natural movement of these two companies working together versus a rival.
I think it says something about Apple working with someone, because I'm starting to wonder if it's just possible to not have a chat app at this point of some kind, given the popularity of them. I guess we'll see. Sort of along those lines, there was another article here from 9 to 5 Mac that they held a company-wide meeting. The way they couch it was to address Apple's AI woes. So, that tells me that there is some, if I accept that headline as accurate, and it does seem to be, that was the general tone of things, the way that I read in multiple articles, that there is internal concern that Apple is not pursuing this. So did that have anything to do with this answers team? I have no idea, but it seemed coincidental that these articles and reports sort of hit around the same time.
Yeah.
If I may, I agree with you that the timing is interesting. I think the answers team was something that was formulated way before Tim Cook got in front of the audience there at the Steve Jobs Theater and gave his I'm going to call it a rah-rah speech. Now, that I don't mean that in a condescending way, but I think he was trying to get rally the troops and to come up behind this this new world that Apple's in, and it goes beyond just AI. But I do think that what Apple has been doing was, the answers team specifically was way before the Tim Cook gave a speech. I think it's been probably in the works, in the oven for several weeks, if not months. So, and it's just another way that they're reorganizing how they're trying to attach themselves to this AI world. Call it Apple Intelligence, artificial intelligence, whatever you want to call it. But Apple's going to fix this. There's no doubt in my mind that they have the resources, they have the money. They got to keep the people. We talked about that last week. They've lost 4 key people, but I also think that Apple changed their direction and their approach to AI. And I think the 4 people that left, I don't know, say that about each individual, but I think for the most part, they changed their direction, and people that were yinging decided that they didn't want to yang anymore, so they looked for another opportunity. And let's also remember that Meta's just putting out, I'm going to call it, obscene amounts of money to attract people.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. What kind of ROI they get in 6 months, 8 months, a year, because a lot of these contracts, as I've been hearing them, are supposed to be stretching out over 5 years. So, and I'm sure there are penalties for early departures. So
and your mileage may vary. So.
Yeah, and so the return on investment. What are they going to get? They're obviously buying for the short term, but what are they going to get in the long term, if anything? Brian?
Yeah, one particular quote that I found that was interesting in the article was when Tim Cook was addressing the staff and had mentioned about, rarely was Apple first in many of its things that Apple is well known for, whether it's the iPod, the phone, the PC, the Mac, all those things had existed prior to Apple doing it. And it would have been really neat to not just see those words in print, but to really get an impression from the staff afterwards, to kind of get a temperature gauge in the room of how people felt after that particular aspect of the speech was made. I'm thinking, it could go in different directions, and how it could have been very inspiring. It could have been something like, whatever, but it would have been really interesting to kind of take a temperature gauge, I think, after that type of language was used, to kind of see what the next steps would be.
Yeah, but this is Apple. You're never going to
No,
get that kind of thing.
even the flies have to have clearance too.
Yeah, exactly. Webb, there was one point though that you made, and I lost it now, that I wanted to follow up on. Oh, I know what it was. That there does seem to be more of a recognition out there that Apple's alleged being behind has a lot to do with the privacy aspect of things. And so that's an acknowledged hobbling that they're doing to themselves. That said, though, the fact that they might be open to acquisition of some other things, and the fact that they're sending stuff out to Chat GPT, they're telling you that it's going out. It feels like they're trying to strike that balance where giving you what you want and not exposing your information to the outside world, but you kind of have to acknowledge that you're going to expose it first, and that you're leaving Apple's walled garden intentionally. So.
And I agree with you, and I don't want to extend this conversation beyond what it needs to. And Jim, I'm going to look at you because you understand this a lot better than I do, what I'm about to say. But it is this walled garden, this credo that Apple has, that they want to stay and maintain individual privacy. And that's great. But they also talk a lot about what their approach is going to be on-device processing, if you will. And I'm wondering, and Jim, this is my question to you, is that's going to take an awful lot of horsepower to stick that on here, I would think, to do on-device processing for large language models.
Well, you can only do really simple models. So something like a Chat GPT, no way.
Yeah.
Especially on a phone. I guess there's if you get a Mac that's got, 64 gigabytes of memory. I mean, you still can't do something, anywhere near what a full-blown model can do. That just requires servers.
And you get into,
it requires oceans of water and gigawatts of energy and all that stuff.
And what kind of model can be loaded on now? Mac Whisper does a lot of transcription work internally on device, and it keeps getting better and better and better. So there's an argument that at least some things, maybe certain specialized tasks, can be done on device, but just the wide open queries that have
right. That's what I was going to say. Voice recognition, that's not really the right word. Transcription, dictation, whatever. That's actually a fairly small problem.
Right. Mark Fuccio has joined us. He finally got in. Zoom buddy in. Mark, good to see you. Mark, I'm sorry to tell you, I've got no audio from you. So Mark is working on it. So we're going to move on, but we'll come back to Mark.
I'm having a deja vu experience right now. Don't ask me. Keeping with the Apple stuff. Apple just sold a quote from Tim Cook. Apple just sold its 3 billionth iPhone. I knew it. That staggered me. I did not know that we were into 3 billion iPhones.
Think about it. Yeah, 2007, the first iPhone. We're now at what is that? 15, 16 years now. Just think about how many iPhones have sold from then until now.
And what was the original goal? Something like if they could get 1% market, that would be fine with them or something.
They surpassed that.
So is this 3 billion number like new phones, or does that count
cumulative for all time? So
phones that this resell
phone
as
ever
well?
sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those are just the ones that were actually sold, not the ones that were stolen and resold, is what Eric's getting at.
Yeah. Good
Well,
point.
I think the question is how many of those are still don't they
Active.
talk about like around 1 billion devices that
Yeah.
are active?
Hmm.
At least
And-
last I heard, and that was a couple years ago. May have gone up some, but
Well,
you know.
just the people on this call probably account for at least a couple million.
Yeah. You and me both, Chuck, since we've upgraded basically since day one. So
Yeah, I mean that's
Same here.
that's. But again, that I don't think that takes away from any of the success story here. It's an excellent device, and this is the echo chamber, and I know that. But we constantly hear about people switching. Now there are some switchers that go the other way. I don't know how long they stay or if they stay permanently, but I've known people that have gone over and came back because they just were not happy with it. So,
Well, I mean, there are more Android phones.
Do you hear me now?
Yes.
yes, we have you. Hey,
Hey. I don't know. I'm having a problem of some sort with my Rode Ape, so I just switched to the phone on my Mac Air. So anyway, good to be here.
yes, good to have you, Mark. Do you want to play catch up on comments with anything?
Yeah, I would just comment on some of these things about Apple and their AI plans and acquisitions. I think that's a hot topic, and I put in the chat room, over 100 years ago, yellow journalist William Randolph Hearst, basically said, if it bleeds, it leads. And about the Spanish-American War, he told his guy down there, you provide the photo and you furnish the photo and I'll furnish the war. So don't believe everything you read. They're in the business of selling eyeballs and capturing attention. And if they can report, something that's truthful, well, that's a happy accident.
So there you go. There you go.
And I agree with Webb. Apple will ultimately figure this out, and they're being pilloried now because everyone thinks that they need to spend 80 or $100 billion a year on servers that boil the ocean when they can partner for that. So just tune it out and wait and see what the upcoming product announcements are. And my bet is it's next year, not this year. But anyway, back to you, Chuck.
Well, Mark, I kind of agree with you. I mean, we're starting to, I know it's August, but we're running out of year as these things go. So what would not surprise me is if we saw some kind of significant acquisition or significant partnership, if it can't be an acquisition, by the end of the year. That would seem to make a lot of sense. But to your other point, how long did we hear from the tech pundits as well as Wall Street about the netbooks? Apple has to produce a netbook, or they're going to die. And of course they didn't. They brought out the iPad, and then the rest is history. And who now has a netbook? So I'm sure Dave does. He can probably reach around and pull one out.
no,
Yeah.
I got her at that years ago.
Smart
Wipe
man.
off the dust before you show it, David.
No, it's long gone.
Okay.
Going to throw this one in next, and I look like I'm having a little trouble throwing it in to the YouTube chat room. But Apple has filed suit against Apple Cinemas for attempting to capitalize on its name. And I thought this was a really interesting article, simply because Apple usually, I'm surprised that Apple,
That it took
the
so
computer
long.
company, that they let this go. But it seems that if I understand everything correctly, that Apple Cinemas has primarily been an East Coast and even a Northeast chain that didn't push too hard, and they just did their thing. Now they're trying to push out into a more nationwide presence. They opened a theater in San Francisco called Apple Cinemas. Why don't you just go down and knock on Tim Cook's door and say, sue me, please?
Pretty much.
So, but what I find interesting is, since Apple did not defend its name in this situation earlier, will that give Apple Cinemas any kind of leg up in the legal action?
So, Chuck, I know nothing about Apple Cinemas. How long have they been in existence? And do they have a precedence claim?
Since 2010.
2010.
Yeah.
Opening its first
And
theater in 2013.
It's all in the link that he posted in the chat.
Yeah. So, again, I mean, they just opening in San Francisco would seem to just be looking for trouble. There are a lot of places you could expand to, but
this is a great way to catch attention for people. Oh, let me go check out this new theater.
Well, exactly.
And they're all showing F1, by the way.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one to watch. And I don't expect that there's going to be a major dollar thing or anything, but I just can't I don't know where the legal precedent is that if they've been left alone since 2013 to operate under this name, and they just happen now to open a theater in Apple's area, that now Apple is having a problem with it.
Yeah, but in 2024, they tried to register Apple Cinemas as a trademark. I'm sure that didn't help in the last paragraph.
Well,
yeah.
I'm sure there are a lot of companies that are Apple this and Apple that.
Yeah, but they denied the trademark was denied, so they were not successful. But you would have thought that might have drawn some fire, or maybe the Apple we know didn't even know about it because it's such an obvious thing that if you put Apple in front of anything,
I'll take that bet. Apple knew about it. They just didn't do anything about it. Didn't feel they had to.
Okay, so Webb, does that give the Apple Cinema a better legal claim?
Absolutely not. Not once they went to San Francisco. I mean, they were itching for a fight, quite honestly. Going right into Apple's backyard from Massachusetts to over. There's we started talking about the F1 movie last week, and I started to say something I didn't. The one of the 400-pound gorillas in this space is AMC, American Multi-Cinema. American Multi-Cinema is based here in Kansas City, and it was founded by a gentleman by the name of Stan Durwood, who unfortunately passed away, but I met him and knew him. And his very first theater was a twinplex in a mall, and it was the first one in America that did that. And that's how American Multi started. They did multiple cinemas in different locations. Now they had some strange things going on with their stock about 3-4 years ago, and we don't need to get into that. And like that, Stan Durwood, the founder, unfortunately passed away in 98, 99, somewhere in there, maybe a little bit after that. But so he hasn't been around for quite some time. But what I predict is that I could see if Apple Cinemas is going to be a prime target for acquisition. That's what I'm expecting. So,
You mean from one of the other cinema chains?
From someone else, yep. Whether it's what's the other one? Regal, I think, is the other one, and
AMC.
And then there are
AMC,
several somewhat regionals, but yeah, AMC is. I'm not going to say they're the only 400-pound gorilla in the space, but they're huge.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were based in Kansas City, and they're around here. And we haven't been to a theater since COVID, but we used to previously go to AMC's on a regular basis.
Something to watch.
Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.